Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 3 this is now of my exploring North Norfolk. So yeah, RSPB Snettisham. Now it's a place that I've been quite a few times, don't get me wrong. Those who have been following the channel for a little while now will have seen I've made several trips down here, but to be honest with you, it's worth it. Well, I hope it's going to be worth it tonight. It usually is. Now, Snettisham is a place that I like to come quite often, to be fair. I've not been for a little while, but the great thing about it is not only do you have the coastal part of it, but you have this lovely walk. It is a little way to the beach, but you have this lovely walk surrounded by all this scrub where we often see some really nice small birds. Now, the downside to Snettisham is to make the most of it, you need to have a high tide, and ideally a high tide. Now, it's not high tide tonight until 9:30 and sunset's at 10 to 9, so I'm gonna miss the highest of the high tide because it'll be dark. But what I will say is it should still give us some fantastic opportunities. Now, it is still windy for those who watched my last video from home next to the sea, and there is a deer just popped out right in front of me. See, you never know what you're going to see. Well, I'm going to stop recording and keep making my way to the coast, and it just hopped a fence. Just literally from a standing point. Yeah, I'll stop gabbering to you guys and see if I can actually see any small birds before we actually make it to the beach. Okay, so we've actually made it to the coastal area of Snettisham, and I've tried to put my gloves on. It is that chilly here now because of that wind. Now, had no luck with the small birds, and I spent a good sort of 15-20 minutes stood because I could see loads of long-tailed tits flying in and out of this bush. I just couldn't get a decent framing on any of them, which is a real shame. So I didn't hang around too long because obviously I wanted to come down and do some coastal shots. That tide is miles away at the minute, which surprises me. I thought it would have been higher. However, we've still got a little while till sunset, and you won't see from the clouds behind me, out over the horizon, over the coast, there is a strip of light. Not blue skies, but it looks like thin cloud, and the light is beaming through it. So, I made a decision. When you get to Snettisham and you're walking along the seawall, on the Oystercatcher left-hand side, there is a lagoon. On the right-hand side, there is the coast. So I decided I would come along the lagoon edge path because it's slightly more sheltered from the wind and the birds aren't being pushed close enough to the shore to make anything of it. Not only that, it is nesting season, so they have sectioned off a large portion of the beach. So I'm going to keep making my way down this way, see if we can actually see anything in the lagoon or any small birds in all these shrubs and stuff behind me. There's a lot of black-headed gulls about at the moment. Now, when I first got to the top, I did walk down next to the barrier, and I've hopefully got a beautiful shot of an oyster catcher just stood on the beach. It's a beautiful environmental shot. You know me, I love my environmental shots. So I'm going to stick that up for you now, and I'm going to keep walking along here and actually see if I can actually see anything at all. Okay, so it's very dingy at the minute, which isn't great. But what is great is walking along the edge of the lagoon. I noticed there was a lot of, I think there's a load more out there. I noticed there was a lot of black-headed gulls on an island so I whipped the camera up and they're all sitting on nests, which is pretty awesome. However, I then noticed there was some ducks and I was like, are they shell ducks? Put the camera up just to have a look. And I was like, yep, they're shell ducks, a bit too far. And then I was like, what's that next to it? It's a Pied Avocet. Next thing I know, over the top of my head flies 2 Pied Avocets. Unfortunately, couldn't get the camera up in time. But I have a feeling there's another one over there. Or is that a shell duck? You wouldn't believe I've just had my eyes tested. So, yeah. Managed to actually get some half decent shots of the Pied Avocet, a little bit far away, so I'm going to have to crop them in, and I was on crop mode as well. But there's not much I can do to get closer, unfortunately. There's all this scrub here next to the lagoon, and they're literally over the far side. I don't know if you can actually see, excuse the wind if you can hear, they're all literally right over there on a nest. Anyway, yeah, so I was quite happy with that actually. That's a brilliant spotting for down here. I've never seen the Avocets down at Snettisham, so really, really pleased with that. But one thing I did notice was, because it is so dingy, because it's so dingy, first couple of shots I took on my standard f8 1/640th of a second, you know, the base settings I usually start on for static birds, ISO 12,800. So I managed to step it down to, I think, 1/500th of a second, open the aperture up to 6.3, and it brought it down to about 5,000, which is a bit more acceptable, and the shots look nice and sharp on the back of the camera because the Avocet wasn't moving that much. Now, I'm hoping when I get them on the computer they look as good as they do on the back of the camera. That wind doesn't overly seem to be easing off. Unfortunately, I almost had a gorgeous shot of a reed bunting. Now, one second. So you see this stuff? Where is it? There it is. All these lovely white little flowers. It landed on a bush that was absolutely filled with them. Unfortunately, because of the wind, there was branches going all over the place. I put spot focus on and it kept grabbing it, then grabbing a branch, grabbing a branch, and it was all over the place. It was a real shame because it would have been a cracking shot. But c'est la vie. You know, I live in Great Britain. I live in the UK. Weather is just part and parcel of doing wildlife photography, or any kind of photography, full stop. So yeah, right, the paths have merged now. I've come up from the lagoon. There is a path that I can walk down the middle of it, but don't know if I'll do that yet, because I'm here really for seabirds. Bunny. There's a lot of black-headed gulls. I'm just going to have a little wander down there just to see what's actually on the sort of path across the middle. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have a walk along the beach or along the coastal wall and see what's there. So yeah, stick with us. I'll stick up all those Avocet shots and stuff now, and we'll see what else we can get from Snettisham today. Okay, so I definitely made the right shout walking down that divide between the two lagoons. There was another Pied Avocet down there, and I managed to actually get quite close to it and get some brilliant shots. But again, I've got a problem with this dinginess I could really do with a bit more light. So I started off base settings, and it was pushing the ISO up to 12,800. So I managed to step that down and actually got some shots with a lower ISO. Anyway, come up off that bit, walking along the beach, and you've got the old jetty. Again, those who have watched my channel for a little while will have seen me down here at the old jetty. And where they've got the cordoned off area for the nesting birds, it kind of stops between those two bits. Great, I thought I'll have a wander down just towards the old jetty. Managed to get another great shot of oystercatcher. So that makes me happy. Anyway, also get a lovely shot of a beautiful little ringed plover. That may have been what I saw previously with Mrs. S over at home next to the sea, rather than sandlings. Very similar movement and obviously quite small, not as small as sandlings, but that erratic running around everywhere and stuff. The thing is, I didn't have my camera when Mrs. S and I went home, unlike tonight, for the last video anyway that you guys hopefully have watched. But I didn't actually go down to that bit at home. Anyway, I'm boring you guys with that now. So yeah, managed to get some corking shots with those. But again, because the ISO is so high, I actually ended up stopping it down at one point to 1/320th of a second and f6.3 to try and let a bit more light in. However, I also upset a black-headed gull as well. Stopped taking pictures then, not really paying much attention, and this is on me. Started to walk towards the jetty a bit more, and there was a black-headed gull on there. It flew up and it started hovering above me, so I was like, okay, I've obviously encroached a bit too far without even realising. So I started to back up and he took a swoop down at me. Now he was probably still a good 6 foot above my head, maybe 4 foot. But the fact that he swooped at me was obviously a warning, so I was just like, no, I'm encroaching on an area they obviously don't want me to go. So, walked away. I didn't even realise that they were around. I was too focused on the oystercatcher and the plover, the ringed plover. So, yeah, lesson to be learned. Obviously, always be aware of your surroundings when you're out doing wildlife photography. Little bit of a slightly intimidating moment. I also apologise as well if the mic's making funny noises. I keep bashing it with my chin, I think. Let's hold the camera up a little bit. There we go. Because I've got it quite high up, because I've zipped my jacket up, because it is freezing. But yeah, I've just come for a further walk down the beach. I don't usually come this far, but I don't think the sea is going to be in enough to push the birds in anymore. However, I have already got some brilliant shots that I'm really happy with. So I'm going to stop rambling to you guys. I'm going to keep having a walk down here. We've got about an hour-ish till sunset. You can maybe see that tiny little strip of light I was hoping was going to actually help, but yeah, we will see, we will see. So yeah, stick with us. I'll see if there's anything else that we can see. Okay, I'm calling it now. So I've just stopped in a partially sheltered bit. This wind is not letting up in the slightest, and neither are these clouds as well, which means that video quality is probably really diminished now. And not only that as well, obviously it's pushing the ISO right up, and there's a lot of black-headed gulls flying around next to me in the lagoon, which is making me a little bit nervy after getting swooped up by that one. As I say, totally on me, I'm sure. Now, RSPB Snettisham, what a fantastic place. But a couple of key pointers I want to make here. Do try and come down at around high tide. I would say probably at least get down here an hour before, if not an hour and a half before, and stay as long as you can. So ideally it wouldn't be at sunset like it is now. Do also try and come down on a clear day as well. And if you want to, avoid wind, because it is really breezy, hence why I'm holding on to the camera at the moment. So yeah, my evening at RSPB Snettisham then has been fantastic, despite all the issues that I've obviously had weather-wise. You know, I've got some great shots of some oystercatchers, the ringed plover as well, which is a first for me that I can remember. And I'll be honest though, the star of the show was that Pied Avocet. Managing to get some better shots than what I got at North Cave Wetlands when I had the problems with the heat haze and the bright sun. Managing to get close enough to get some really good shots. I did attempt some in-flight shots as well as it took off, but I'm not sure how they came out. They looked good on the back of the camera, but the ISO is absolutely obliterated. So yeah, I'm hoping if I can tidy them up, I've at least got one decent shot of that. And again, would be better than the shots from North Cave Wetlands. But yeah, RSPB Snettisham is an absolutely fantastic place. This isn't obviously going to be my last video from here, that's for sure. It's about an hour's drive from me. So it's just a case of monitoring the weather, and if I can come down for an evening when you can get sunset. So little point as well, because of where Snettisham is located on the North Norfolk coast, it actually gets a cracking sunset. So bear that in mind. It is good to come down on an evening, but do make sure that your tide times are right. If you can get that to marry up, you'll have an absolutely fantastic time here. So I'm walking back to the car. As I say, if I do manage to get any other shots, I will have already stuck them up. But obviously, if you've liked the video, give us the old thumbs up. Drop some subscribes from down the bottom if you don't already, and hit that notification bell. And all that's left for me to say then is this is Mike out. Take care and be safe, everyone. Peace.